January 2nd, 2020. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 198 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Well, Happy New Year, Mike.
Yeah, Happy New Year
even though
to
we're
you.
recording this a little bit early, this will post on January 2nd, 2020.
A new year.
2020. It's like a science fiction year.
Yeah, right.
Except no flying cars.
When I was a kid, I always thought 2000 would be cool.
That would be huge.
You know, it's like, oh, we're going to make it to 2000.
Yeah.
And now we're at 2020. We're 20 years past that.
I know.
And the world hasn't ended.
Yeah,
it's weird. I thought for sure things would have ended by now.
Yeah, well, maybe in some alternate universe it's already ended.
Well,
I think of it
true.
that way.
Maybe I'm in the wrong universe.
I think you're in the right universe, Dr. Mike.
You think so?
You may think that's not the case. From day to day, you might be
Right.
thinking, this is not the universe for me. No, you're in the right one. Trust
right.
me.
All right,
It's really
very
bad in the other one. Well, since our last episode, we had some casino adventures. So
Nice.
let's kind of talk about those for a little bit. So first of all, the Friday after Christmas, my mom and my sister went to some of the different casinos close to us here.
And you.
Yeah, I went also to some of in the East County area of San Diego. We went to 4 separate casinos. We went to Jamul, Sequan, Viejas, and Barona. My mom
Nice.
was looking forward to going out.
Yeah.
She really liked Jamul the first time we went.
And on the Christmas day, your mom's just itching to go. It's like, God, I wish this Christmas thing would end.
I know,
We need
yeah.
to
It
get
was
to the
torture
casinos
for her.
tomorrow.
Well, 2 days after that, we finally went. First, we went to Jamul, and the craps tables were not open there, so I didn't play anything at there. I just followed my mom and sister around where they played some slots.
Okay.
I think those craps tables don't open till noon, and we were there around
yeah.
11 o'clock.
Right.
So my mom loves to play the slots. She likes those big machines. She calls them Big Bertha. There was a machine called Big Bertha at one point. It was really called that. But now for all the big machines.
Now they have seems like more big machines than small machines.
Oh, it's true.
You look at a lot of them. I mean, the huge ones.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's some that are real tall, and there's like 4 at a bank.
Right. And a lot of them have those benches so 2
Right.
people can sit, and play.
Right.
That's a smart idea,
Which
actually.
yeah, that's a great idea.
But my mom and my sister kind of like the old style machines where it's 3 real and 25 cents and maybe 3 coin in. And those are
Right.
pretty hard to find anymore.
They're very
right?
hard to find.
Certainly not in the big machines. So we just played the big machines. Now, what she would do is she'd say, oh, here, Mark, let's put $5 in this one and be like 1 spin, the way
right.
that they are now. Even if it's a penny machine, right, it's 1 spin. So that's pretty much how it went the whole time we were playing at all the casinos. And, no luck, which is understandable. I mean,
Right.
really, we'd play one machine for 1, maybe 2 spins.
Right. You're not going to hit. You got to be there a while.
And it has worked for her in the past. There was
Right.
one time we were at Harris, she put $5 in and won 700, just boom.
Right.
But, it's
Right.
like anything else, you got to get lucky. So we didn't have very good luck at the casinos, but we started at Jamul, and then we went over to Sequan, which again, I think is just a beautiful property, and there's a whole non-smoking area where it really is, you don't smell the smoke.
It's definitely separate.
Yeah, that's nice. No luck there. We played some video blackjack and did okay. Actually, my sister Dana, she won on that. I lost.
Nice.
It was one of those video blackjacks where it's that fake, good-looking woman dealing the deals, right? And so,
Yeah, I like her.
it's not like stadium blackjack. In other words,
Right.
you don't all get the same hands. It's
No.
like you're sitting at a real blackjack table, so you
Right.
get different hands.
Right.
So she won and I lost because we were getting different cards. And then we went to Viejas. Now, this was the most interesting place. It'd been a long time since I'd been to Viejas.
Been a while for both of us.
And my sister-in-law, Elle, who has been on the show before, and I think some of our listeners met her
Right.
when you were in Vegas
Vegas.
here recently. She has started to go there recently, and she said, oh, you got to go out there. She has a good relationship with a host. And so she met us out there at Viejas. And she introduced me to her host, whose name was Carmela. Super nice. I mean, real attentive. And I gave her my credentials. I showed her that I was 7 stars through Caesars. She immediately tier matched me to their highest tier level,
Nice.
which is platinum.
Platinum.
I know it's a gold. You're going to
weird.
go to one place and go, oh, gold's our highest level.
When we open a casino,
Yeah.
our highest level is going to be
Unobtainium.
unobtainium.
Right?
Oh, there you go. I like
You
that.
tied that in. So one of the perks of this platinum level at Viejas is every 3 months, they put $200 on your card. And as a new sign up, I got that $200 on my card right away. And so I'm asking Carmela, oh, that's nice. So does it stay on my card? Do I play it on machines, or how does it work? And she says, no, it's just on your card. If you want to cash it out for cash right now, you can.
Wow.
I was like, really? So $200. I just got it in cash.
Just didn't play?
I hadn't played anything yet.
Nice.
But I think the fact that Elle kind of, vouched for me, and I was 7 stars, right? So
boy, they were disappointed.
No, they got their money back. They got the $200 back and more.
All right.
So my sister and my mom, they went and found some slots, and I went to the craps table. And the first thing that caught my eye was they had all small tall.
That's nice.
Which I don't think we've heard of in California at all.
No,
have we,
I'm
Mike?
surprised we haven't heard of that.
I know,
here.
nobody has told us that. They had all small tall, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get
now,
you
do
out
they have
there.
Fire bet too?
No, that was all that they had, was just all small tall.
Okay.
Right, yeah. And it was at the good payouts. You know how
the old payouts.
Yeah, some of the Las Vegas casinos have lowered them, but no, this was 175 for the all,
right,
and 34 to 1 each for the small and tall.
See, that's enough to get me there.
I know. We got to go out there soon. So it was a $5 minimum table. They had 2 tables. And I asked one of the dealers, what's it like on a weekend night? He said, well, they have 2 tables open, but they usually keep one at $5. He said, unless it's like some super day, like maybe New Year's Eve or something,
they'll go up.
They're going to keep it at $5. 5 times odds. So strict 5 times odds, right? Not the full 5 times odds, but 5 times odds, and they'll let you go a little bit higher on the 5 and 9 if you need to make it an even amount. Hot bets. They were actually on the layout. So, we were talking about how a lot of Southern California casinos don't allow
have them, right.
So hot bets. I started playing, and I decided to buy the 4 and 10. And so I gave the dealer $52. And he kind of looked at me funny for a second, and then he said, oh, no, we only collect the VIG on winning bets. So
that's better.
No, I mean, this is, compared to what we're used to, this is great. This might be the best rules
in California that we've come across.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And a very good crew, great crew.
Nice.
I was tipping from the beginning, but even so, they, seemed very nice. And so, yeah, we got to get you out there, Mike. This is
well, you had told me all this, and I was telling my wife last night, and she's like, well, why don't you go there? And what are we going to get, though? Because we get so much free play at Harrah's, and we can use all of our points in Vegas.
That's another huge thing, right? Viejas is just a sole entity.
Right. And we get so much from them. And she said to me, well, why not go to Harrah's 3 out of the 4 weeks, and then 1 week a month go to Viejas?
Yeah.
And I said, you're the best wife ever. That's a great idea. And so that's maybe what we should do.
We should do that because I feel obligated to give them some play.
Right.
Just because she was so good to me.
Right.
And it's way closer to us.
Yeah. Well, that's what my wife's thinking too, is, that 1 weekend you'll be home earlier because it's closer.
Yeah. Well, it's way closer to my house.
Right.
It's like 25 minutes from my house. Right. So, yeah, that's a good idea. 3 times a month. And then let's see what they start giving us. Right. As far as, free play goes,
and we'll
or whatever.
Just say, look, we'll tell them, if you can match what we get in free play at Harrah's, we would just come here all the time and give us a little voucher for Vegas.
A voucher for Vegas. No, you're absolutely right, Mike. I think we should take our flyers that we get mailers that show all our free play for a month. Right. We should take it to Carmela and say, look, we go to Harrah's because this is what they give us. What do you offer?
Yeah,
and maybe after we've gone a few times, rather than just
and then we'll go back to Harrah's and say, look, this is what Viejas is doing for us.
There we go. Now I feel like Eric Rosenthal.
Right. Yeah, I think we got something good going here.
Anyway, so everybody was real nice there. So that was a real positive experience. So, definitely.
Okay.
And then the last place we went to was Barona. We weren't there very long because really the luck was just not going well for her.
Did Elle go to Barona with you guys?
She was going to, but she ended up staying at Viejas. She said, I'll meet you there. And
because she's a big Barona person, too.
She is.
They treat her nice.
She is. So that was it. Oh, and then at Viejas, I lost like $400 at the craps table. So they're $200
but you
up
only
on
lost
me.
$200, really.
Right. That's what I figured.
So, that's not bad.
Yeah. Anyway, kind of a fun trip. Now,
you should have mentioned, too, that the dice are the same.
Oh, yes.
It plays the same as Harris.
Right. So the same as most of the California craps games, they just have 6 cards, ace through 6, and then 6 locations, little boxes on the table that they shuffle them into. And then people roll dice and you
translate the dice to the cards.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was exactly the same.
The reason I say that is because we're going to talk a minute here about a place that doesn't do that.
Well, let's talk about that right now. So the next day, you and I, Mike, 2 years ago, we went on this casino crawl across Southern California, right? The idea was we were going to try to go to all the Southern California casinos that we had never been to before.
Right. There were actual casinos, not card rooms.
Yes.
Casinos.
Right. And we got to all of them except San Manuel. It just got too late and it was too far away.
It was a little far away.
So, and then last year you were away during Christmas. So this year we said, okay, let's get up to San Manuel finally. Right. So we did that on Saturday night. It was an hour 45 minutes to get there. I thought it would be closer to 2 hours. An hour 45.
And there was a little bit of traffic going there.
A little bit, yeah.
So it could have been like an hour and a half if maybe traffic was more cooperative.
And most of the way there, it's like you're driving to Vegas. It's the same route.
Yeah, well, so when you're on it, I'm like, well, we're halfway to Vegas.
Let's just keep going.
Let's just keep going.
So we got up there, and we were actually going to meet your parents and brother, who just happened to be up there as well.
Right. Well, my brother had taken my parents home with him to L.A. after Christmas.
Oh, yeah, and they stayed with him.
Okay. Yeah, and then he was going to bring them back, and we were planning to go up there anyway. I said, well, we'll just meet you, bring them there, and I'll drive them home.
Yeah, good.
Makes more sense.
Yeah. So let's talk about the casino. It's very big.
Huge.
Yeah. We certainly got turned around more than once. It's funny because your brother said, "Oh, it's not very busy tonight," and I thought he was joking.
Yeah, we were both like, "Ah ha ha."
Yeah, I thought he was being sarcastic.
We're bumping into people. Seriously, I'm walking, and you can't just walk your normal gait. You're dodging around people.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's slow.
But everybody said that. Dealers, we're a little slow tonight. It's like, oh my gosh,
our
what's
friend
it like?
Seda said, "Oh yeah, it's so slow tonight."
Oh yeah,
like, what?
So there were 4 dealers that we saw there who used to work at Harris.
Right.
Seda, who we've mentioned on the show before, Julie, Michael, and Taryn.
Yeah, right.
Was that it? I can't think of any of the others that we met. But
those were the 4 that I remember. There might have been a couple others.
Yeah.
We didn't see them. Maybe. There are several that worked there.
Yeah, Mike and Taryn were actually at the craps table.
Right, dealing to us.
Right. Julie was dealing, I think Julie and Seda at one point were both dealing in the high limit room.
Right,
yeah,
blackjack.
Right. So anyway, we got in there. I think a beautiful property, waterfalls and everything, and a lot of different nooks and crannies that you can get into. So we got in and thought, the first thing we want to do is sign up for a player's card. So we found the player's card area, and there was a big line, and we're thinking, we got to go through
we're both looking at each other like, do we really want to stand in that line?
Yeah, is it worth it? How often will we come up here?
How often will we come?
But at the same time, a lot of times they have sign-up bonuses.
Right, so that was the incentive for us.
So we're about to get in line, and this woman just comes up to us. Oh, can I help you guys? Yeah. They had people walking around looking for new signups, and she was able to handle it right there. She had a little keypad.
Right, she had a little scanner thing.
Yeah, so we didn't have to stand in line. So that was great.
And the nice thing, she was so nice. And then she said, okay, so you get some free play for signing up. Let me show you how to do that. She took us to a kiosk, stood in line with us, waiting at the kiosk. And then we got up there, prompted us to go through, which I thought was pretty funny because, it was pretty self-explanatory.
If she had known how many of these kiosks, and almost all casinos are using the same system now, right? So the interface is the same. Right?
But we might have looked like 2 guys who've maybe never been to a casino before.
It could have been.
But she's like, okay, now you press this button. And I'm just politely doing what she tells me, waiting for her to tell me it so I don't look like an idiot.
So as far as this free play deal went, there was this electronics wheel that you spun, right? So you went first, right? And you got $20 in free play.
The wheel, I think the minimum was 20 and the most was 1,000.
Yeah, there was a little sliver on the wheel where it was 1,000. So I got up there, it was my turn, and I spun the wheel. And I turned to Mike and I said, "Oh, I hope I get more than 20." And I got 75.
Nice. And the ladies laughed. And I'm like, God, he gets 75?
All right, so let's jump ahead a little bit so that karma can kick in.
Right.
So it's right before we left, we said, we got to go play our free play.
Right.
So we found on a video poker machine. We were playing some bonus poker,
right.
And you went first.
Well, the funny thing is you tried to go first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. My card wouldn't work.
His card wouldn't work. So he had to go get a new card.
Yeah.
And while you did it, I sat down in the machine. I put my card in. I press once, $5, nothing. I've only got $20. I press it again, $5, 4 kings. Dealt 4 kings.
Dealt 4 kings, right? Yeah.
Right. So I cash out for $135 from my 20. I got 135 real dollars for my 20. Then you come back with your new card.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, very good, Mike. You went off to talk to your family, and
right.
I sat there and played my $75. $5 a hand. Cashed out for $15. So there you go.
See how karma works? That's why you can't say anything till the night's done. Don't count your cards till you're on the way home.
Yep, I agree. All right. I shouldn't have done that. No, I'm going to still do it.
Yeah.
I'm still going to do it that way.
We're always going to do it. Both of us will never learn that lesson.
Let's see a couple other things before we talk about playing craps there. They had free Wi-Fi, which was nice.
That was nice.
Yep. The dealers keep their own tips.
Right.
That's one of the reasons a lot of the dealers have left Harrah's
That's
for
a
others
huge
casinos.
advantage, especially if you're like someone like Seda or Julie, you're very personable and nice and talkative.
Yes.
And
Pleasant.
you're interactive with the clientele. If you weren't interactive, if you were, I'm not going to name names, but there are some people that just, are just not talkers, right?
Yeah, right.
And, they probably don't get tipped as much, so they probably like to share. But if you are the kind that's going to get tipped a lot, of course, you do not want to share.
Now, one of the things we were wondering is, well, how does that work on a craps table?
Right.
Because, you don't throw in a bet and say, okay, this is just for the stick man.
Right.
Right. There are 3 dealers at any time. And we thought, well, we wonder how that works. And it's actually very simple. What happens is the box keeps track of all the tips that
They
the
keep
dealers
them off
have.
to the side.
They're just in a stack there. They've got an off button off them.
Right.
And every time there's a stick change, the box just separates all the tips that have come in during that period
into 3 piles.
And then just dumps each of the piles into the
each person gets their pile and puts it in their box.
Yeah, all dealers have a box that they take with them from table to table.
Their own box
that has the tips in them.
Right.
Yeah. So, and if there's anything left over, like because you're splitting up all these chips, if there's like $1 or $2 left over, then that just carries over to the next stick change. Right. So.
I noticed too when there was one particularly good roll, and I had tipped quite a bit, and it was well over $1,000.
Yeah, there was a lot of black chips in there.
Yeah, well, she colored up the box lady who was keeping the tips. Right, she colored them up to hundreds.
Oh,
and I was wondering about that because
you're right. I didn't think about that.
Because the roll was so. If they had strictly said, okay, no hundreds, which a lot of casinos do for dealerships, right? They like to drop 25s.
Right.
Well, they would have had so much, $1,000 and 25, and it would have kind of been in the way.
Yeah.
A little bit. So she kept coloring up to hundreds.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. All right, so let's talk about how craps works at San Manuel. And it's different, quite a bit different from how craps is played in other California casinos. And it's not as popular. That's one thing. For as big a casino as this is.
This is a monster casino with one craps table.
One craps table.
They used to have 2, and they got rid of one because they didn't have enough business. Yeah. Now, that's weird.
Now, one of the reasons we think is because they don't use dice at all.
Right.
It is completely card-based. And here's how it works. They've got a single continuous shuffle machine with, I think, when I was looking into it, it's about 300 some cards. All just ace through 6, right, to represent the 6 sides of a die. Right? About 300 cards. And so what they do is for every roll, the box just takes 2 cards out of the shuffler machine and turns them face up. And that's the roll.
Okay.
Now, what that means is this game is not exactly mathematically the same as real craps. Because think of it this way. Let's say they take the first card out of the shuffle machine. Let's say it's a 3.
Right.
Well, now there's one less 3 in the remaining cards.
Right. Than a full, say, deck.
Right.
So your chances of getting a hard 6 are going to be less.
Right. The chances of another 3 coming out are less because there's one less 3 in there. Right. And we noticed that when it was time for the next roll, the box would take the 2 cards from the previous roll, put them back in the machine, but before the machine had even grabbed those cards, the box would take another 2 out.
Right.
So now those 2 cards are also not possibly going to be included for the next roll.
No, there's no way they could get in there and get shuffled in. And
Well,
I mean, it was almost instantaneous. They took them out.
So the result of this now is the don't pass has a slightly lower house edge than regular craps, and the pass line has a slightly higher house edge than regular craps. And in fact, a very similar game, Steven over at discountgambling.net, he ran an analysis on this game back when they had it at Viejas. And if a casino offers 10 times odds, you can take advantage of this game. You would actually have a small edge by taking full odds on don't pass and don't come bets in certain situations, keeping track of cards that had come out, that kind of a thing.
You have to keep track of the cards coming out, pulling your odds off at certain times, putting them back on at certain times.
Exactly. Now, as it turns out, here at San Manuel, it was just 3, 4, 5 times odds, so you couldn't really get an edge on it. Although, again, it would be better mathematically to bet the don't.
Right.
And in fact, when we were talking to some of the dealers, they said, oh, yeah, it's all don't players here.
Right.
Even though the night we were there, we didn't really see that.
Yeah, the night we were there, the table was full, and there was one person playing don't, and they were getting creamed. And everyone else was winning.
Well, that's
on
the thing.
line.
You and I started playing, and it actually was pretty poor to start with. A lot of immediate 7 outs, right? In fact, you went to the cashier to get more money, and tell us about that nightmare.
Oh, the cashier. I mean, this is a big casino. And I know there are multiple cashiers, but the cashier that was closest to the craps table is the one I went to because I didn't want to get lost, basically.
Right, sure.
So I went to that, and I mean, it was a line.
You were gone so long, Mike.
Mark, I was like 30 deep.
Yeah.
I mean, there were like 30 people ahead of me, 2 cashiers. I mean, there was enough room for about 10, but there's 2 working.
Well, because it was a slow night, Mike.
Yeah, yes. Oh my God, it was going so slow. Fortunately, a lot of the people were like, just coloring up chips. And the whole time I'm sitting there and I'm texting you and I'm thinking, when we finish and I've got chips, I'm going to have to stand 45 minutes to color up my chips. I hope I have enough to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, I hope I don't have like, I got $80 left and I got to stand in line for 45 minutes to get my $80.
I know. We were texting back and forth. We wrote a novel. I mean, it took so long.
It was so long. And when I got there, the guy, something screwed up with his computer, and then it took extra long, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I could see all the people in line glaring at me.
Yeah.
Like, well, the other ones, 5 people have gone through, and I'm still there. What is that guy doing? And it wasn't my fault. I wanted to just say, look, it's not me. It's not me. It's him. I don't know.
Well, finally you came back to the table, and luckily that's when the table heated up.
Yes.
And it was a monster roll, if you can call it a roll, right? It was just cards coming out of the neck.
There's nobody rolling.
But one of the things that kept happening, and this is ironic based on what we've just described this game is, a hard 4 would be rolled.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and then the very next roll, hard 4.
4 again, yeah.
Right? Which is like the most unlikely thing to happen.
Hard 10 came back to back. Hard 6s came back to back. It was weird. It was very unlikely.
So we had actually a very big win. We didn't want to stay too late, so we didn't play very long. And we said, hey, next bad roll, let's leave. And the very next roll was bad. So
yeah, and we were thinking, well, we've got, probably an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes to get home. And even more because we had to take my parents home, unload their stuff, then take you home, then me home. So we were thinking, okay, let's not stay too late. So after we finished with craps, we went and played a little blackjack with our friend Seda at her table while my parents wanted to talk to her. And so we did all that and everything. We played our free play. We got in the car, came home. We ended up getting home earlier than we do.
Than if we'd gone to Harris. It's true. Sherry couldn't believe it. Well, you're home?
Yeah, that's what Lynn said. She said the same thing. You're home early. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing I did like about the table was how fast it was.
It's very fast.
Because, the box is really paid attention. She was looking like, okay, all bets are set, and she would flip over the cards. And if it was something like an 11 and nobody had any action on it, boom, the old cards would go in, she'd draw 2 more, and boom, it'd be up. It went so fast.
Right.
I missed it a couple times. It's like, oh, we have a point?
Yeah.
Oh, there was a roll?
There was a roll. I know. A couple times because it'd be like a 2 would come up, 2 aces, and maybe 1 filled bet. They'd pay that filled bet, and boom, she'd flip over 2 cards.
Right, because there's not that whole ritual of, sending the dice and dice out and somebody fiddling with them.
Nobody fiddling with them, too. It's like immediate.
So it's a very fast game. Now, they didn't have all hop bets, but they did have hop bets on hardways, which I thought was interesting.
Well, so that like on the come out, when I had parlayed my hardways, I couldn't turn them on and then make hop bets on easy ways.
Yeah, you like kind of hedging your hardways by hopping the easy ways.
I could leave them off. They were off. All bets were off on the come out. I could just leave them off and then hop the hardways.
Yeah.
So it's just a little different, but.
And they didn't have hardway hops on the felt. What they did was they would put the bet just in the regular hardway area, and then they had lammers that said hop.
Right.
They just put those on top. Yeah.
Right.
One other thing, while we were at that table, we ordered drinks, and you got a Pepsi and I got a Rockstar, and then you thought, oh, I should get a Rockstar too. Yeah, so we both, because I thought,
we were thinking it'd be a late night.
Yeah, and I'm going to be driving home. So we got Rockstars. We just ordered them, and then after we ordered them, she said, okay, they're going to be $2.50 each or something like that, or $3.50 each is what she originally said. It's like, oh, we got to pay for Rockstar. I guess I can understand that because the Pepsi just comes out of the
Rockstar was in a can.
Yeah,
right. Out of the fountain.
Right. So then, okay, that's fine. She came back, okay, here are your Rockstars. Sorry, they were $4.50 each.
Yeah.
We're used to at least getting free Rockstars at Harris.
Well, maybe you do get a free Rockstar if you're a certain level.
That was the thing, right? They did not have tier matching, so we were the, bottom level.
No tier matching. And guess what the highest tier level's called? Turquoise. Yeah. Turquoise is not valuable. I mean, turquoise is, but everywhere.
It's a native, but it's a tribal casino, right? Turquoise is real big.
Still, it should be something valuable. Turquoise. Oh, it's charcoal. Charcoals are highest level.
Sorry. I didn't see you were a charcoal member. Right this way.
I'm so used to just diamonds here. The charcoal members, we shoot them.
But anyway, a positive experience, especially since we won.
Right. Yeah, we were very happy that we won. Now, would we go back?
Certainly if we were up in that area.
Yeah, or if I had to pick up my parents again.
It would be something like that because there certainly was nothing there other than it being nice and we had a good time. The amount of time it would take to get to just wouldn't be worth it.
Now, my brother who lives in Studio City, he goes there frequently.
Yeah.
And I always thought, well, gosh, isn't that kind of weird? Well, I looked it up on a map the next day because I was curious.
Sure.
I mean, it is a straight shot
from Studio City
to that casino. It's Interstate 210. Yeah. And the line on the map, it's like super, it's just a horizontal line, right? It looks like you just drive straight there.
Yeah.
So I put in his address, I put in this casino's address, and it's like an hour.
Okay.
It's just short of
an hour. It's like us going to Harris.
It's like leaving your house right now and going to Harris. It takes like an hour.
Yeah.
So for him, he goes after work and, he goes and gets all of his free play and stuff. And he says they give him a ton of free play.
Great.
But he goes frequently.
Yeah, that's
so, and he's playing a lot. So, I was surprised how close it is to LA.
Yeah.
And that's Studio City. So if you live more east in LA, it's not very far to get there.
Well, and it's a popular place. There were plenty of people here, and they're expanding. So
they're building a big, huge hotel, which we saw being constructed. And what did my brother say? They're going to put in another 2,500 slot machines.
It was some outrageous number. Yeah. So a good trip. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's get to some voicemails. Now, on the last episode, Mike, you were telling a story about Melanie and this friend that she'd met in Vegas, and you admitted you might have gotten some of the information wrong.
Yeah, because, I was trying to listen to her, trying to play craps at the same time. It was during a good roll. We were having a very good roll.
That's right.
So there was a lot going on.
And friends and family members of yours all know that you're a pretty unreliable narrator.
Very unreliable.
Yeah, so let's get the straight scoop from Melanie.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Dr. Mike. It's Melanie from Colorado calling in with, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. So the woman I was reuniting with when I left the craps table rolling with Dr. Mike, we had met 12 years ago to the month at a blackjack table at the Tropicana. So what had happened, I was in town with friends to run the Vegas Half Marathon. And I was dressing as Elvis because the Vegas Marathon has the largest contingent. I believe they hold the world record of people who run dressed as Elvis. I had just come back from the Elvis spaghetti dinner at Mandalay Bay. I was feeling terrible, had a horrible cold, took a couple Advil, hopped on the tram, came back to Tropicana where we were staying and felt better, decided I'd play a couple hands of blackjack before bed. sat down at the table, greeted everybody. And there was one woman across the table who was really pretty and completely standoffish and didn't say anything. I'm like, oh, well, who invited the junior league? Maybe somebody needs to go back to the win. So sit there playing, having a great time. A seat opens up next to me. This woman gets up, comes over, sits next to me, and she's now sitting between me and this really good-looking younger guy. And she leans over to me and says, I think you and I should take off with this guy. And I said, I'm a team player. So that was our introduction. It got to be about 1 a.m, and she had been coming and going, but keeping her stuff there. And I thought, if I am going to run this race at 6 a.m., I have got to go to bed now or just not run the race and play all night. So I left my number, wrote down my number, left it on top of her purse, and went to bed. Got up really early, 4:30, ran the race. That afternoon, I had a text that said, do you even text? So from that point on, we developed a really great text relationship. She's from Ohio, and our paths had just never crossed before that Saturday night. That's the only reason I would leave a craps table playing with Dr. Mike, believe me. We've each been, at this point, we were both going through some marital issues at the time. We have both now been through a divorce, raised kids, and been through the trials and tribulations of middle-aged dating and other misadventures. And I think we've just been both really open with each other since we're so far apart, but it's been a great thing. We've exchanged Christmas cards. She sent me a nice care package when I got home 12 years ago. A nice CD and a shirt, and we've just always remained friends. So that's the story, one of my favorite Vegas stories. Keep up the great podcast, guys, and trust me, Dr. Mike, that is the only thing that can tear me away from that table.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Seriously, think about that. Two people meet and then have this relationship over a long period of time and don't actually see each other.
Yeah.
And then get back together again 12 years later.
Well, it's great that they hit it off. So, especially when it seemed like Melanie, sized her up initially thinking, oh boy, she's some stuck up person.
Right.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot too. I don't know about you, but in my life, that has happened to me multiple times where I see somebody and my first impression is like, eh. And then for whatever reason, you talk to them later and you're like, oh, well, I really got that wrong.
I am a terrible judge of character when it comes to meeting people for the first time. I'll admit it. My wife's really good. Thank goodness. This saves me.
Yeah, maybe I am too, but I've had that where I'm like, and then you talk to them and it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's usually the other way for me. Oh, he's really? Okay. Yeah. He's a murderer. Oh, I misread him. All right, let's hear from our friend Marty.
Mark and Dr. Mike, hey, how you guys doing? Marty from Reno. Hey, came across something in the last week that I thought you and your listeners should know about. For those of you that are using the Caesars sports betting app, which is available only in Nevada, they have started doing something which is almost amazing. So I couldn't figure out why my average daily Theo was going down so considerably. And so therefore my offers were going down so considerably. So last weekend when I was in Vegas, I went in and my host and I looked up my play and they found out that I had 85 trips to the Cromwell in 2019. Physically not possible to make 85 trips to the Cromwell. And as we dug in and we looked at it, we found that 10 of them were actually trips when I was there. All the rest were me making sports bets from home up here in Northern Nevada throughout the weeks when I'm not in Las Vegas. And, I normally make a $20 or a $50 bet in a game. So if you think about the Theo on a $20 or $50 bet, it's about $1. And so what was happening is that because I have so many of these coming up, it drove my average daily Theo down to just a tiny number. So his recommendation, he sent this and ran this up the line inside of Caesar. They said, yes, that is what we're doing. We're not going to change it. So the advice is use someone else's betting app. So I went down to Circa and set up a line there and got it set up. And actually, their app's a little bit better to use anyway. So anyway, interesting turn of affairs for those using the Caesars app. And that could be the reason why you're not getting the comps that you deserve. Love the show, guys. By the way, I met up with T-Bag and Spike when I was there last weekend. Great guys. Always fun to hang out with them. So thanks for turning me on to them. Thanks. See you guys. Have a good weekend.
Wow.
I'll tell you something. First of all, that's an amazing story. Second of all, how stupid can Caesars be?
This is the perfect example of our casino's thinking.
That's absolutely ridiculous. You know how much business they'll lose?
Exactly.
So here's a guy who wants to bet sports with them, which they can make money on, and they're going to force him to go away.
Yeah, and what is their motive here? Oh, now we don't have to offer him as much. Well, now he won't come as much.
Right.
The whole point of average daily theoretical is to determine how much he's going to play when he's there and how important that is to them from a monetary standpoint.
Right.
Wow, that's just so
It makes
stupid.
absolutely no sense on so many levels.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I think somebody called us a while back asking if this might be the case.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, no, they wouldn't do that. How naive were we?
Well, how stupid are they?
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, we're just thinking of it from a standpoint of, well, no, they wouldn't do that. That'd be stupid. They'd lose money in the long run.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So they have him like thinking that he's going to the Cromwell, putting $20 in a machine, playing it and leaving.
Yes, exactly.
But then they also have him going to craps tables at other trips and betting thousands of dollars for, 6-7 hours at a time. I mean, we've seen Marty play for long periods of time. So some days he just goes and puts $20 in a machine.
Yeah.
Some days he stays 6 hours and goes through several thousand.
He doesn't live in Las Vegas, so he's flying down from Reno
to put $20 in the machine.
Wow.
From Reno, where he lives, where he can also put $20 in a machine. Oh, God, it's ridiculous.
I know. It blows your mind.
It's unbelievable that they could even conceive of that.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to change that, they're idiots.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully they're listening. Seriously, they have to change that if enough people complain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because that just doesn't make sense because you want to use a sports betting app.
Yeah.
And, they should want you to use their sports betting app too, right?
Right.
It should be totally separate from your ADT.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to hear from Marty again later with a much more positive story.
Okay,
so
good.
At least that's good. All right. Next up is John.
Mark and Dr. Mike, this is John from beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. I am calling on the most recent show. You're discussing not playing table side bets that have a high house edge. And Mark, you said that if you thought if you'd hit something real big and you'd have to bet out there, you might feel bad. Well, 6 months ago, I was playing Ultimate Texas Hold'em at Circus in Vegas. And I had the 2-4 of spades, and the flop was 1-3-5 of spades. So I flopped a straight flush. And if I'd been playing the little dollar light side bet thing, that would have been worth 10% of the jackpot. I don't know, it was like 12,000 or something is what I would have won. And everyone else at the table is going nuts that I didn't win it. I didn't feel much of anything. I decided long ago I'm not going to play these really high house edge side bets. And the way I look at it is something like this. You're going to walk by hundreds, maybe thousands of slot machines on a trip to Vegas. At the end of your trip, if I say to you, oh man, if you'd stopped and played that one slot machine at whatever casino, you would have won $3,000. Are you going to feel bad that you didn't stop and play it? I wouldn't. I mean, you can't just stop and play every slot machine. In the same way, I'm not just going to make these really high house edge bets on the off chance that I might win a lot of money. I made that decision long ago, and it's fine. I mean, I'm not going to say there was zero pain. It was like a little bit of, oh, man. But it was really not a big deal. It did not really sting very much at all, really. All right. Love the show. Thank you.
All right.
Well, here, I got something to say about
go
that,
ahead.
John. It doesn't equate because, see, if you walk by slot machines, if I walk through a casino, I walk by all the slot machines. When I get outside, you say, oh, if you had stopped at that one there and played. Well, yeah, but I didn't stop there. But when you're at the table and you've stopped at the table and you're actually playing, then you think to yourself, wait a minute, if I had just bet that dollar, I could have won.
Yeah, right. So,
So it doesn't.
the analogy's not a perfect
analogy
one.
is not perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was going to ask you if that was, you heard this and then you'd go crazy just running down, playing all the slots as fast as you can.
Then I'd have to stop at every machine. And then, do you play 10 pulls or do you play 11? Because, at some point you might leave and the 13th pull might have been the one that, hit the grand prize. So you can't think of it like that.
Yeah.
But if you're at the table already and you're playing, and let's say you're playing $20, and then you're like, well, for one more dollar, so I'm going to play $21. I mean, I'd rather do that just in case I hit something to think, oh gosh. Now, if John has played 1,200 hands and not bet the dollar, then he could probably say, well, or 1,201 hands. Well, I'm $1 ahead.
Well, sure, on 12, but this one was 12,000. Just to correct you, it was 12,000.
Right.
But yes.
But if it was like a 12,000.
And that is really the way you need to think of it because chances are you will come out better off in the long run if you don't make these bets, right?
Well, depending on what kind of gambler you are. I mean, to play 12,000 hands of a game takes a while, right?
No, that is true. And John, I try to be like you. But if it was like $1,000 payoff, no, it wouldn't affect me.
No, because that's a small part of your bankroll.
But once it starts getting up into the 5 digits, like $15,000, $20,000, that would sting. I can't say I wouldn't feel it a little bit.
Because think of how much that if you have a $15,000 bankroll, you hit 15,000, you've doubled your bankroll, right?
Yes,
that's got to be good.
All right, yes, but I'm still not going to bet the side bets. So that's
you're doing it out of principle, out of a mathematical principle.
Well, that is true, but if I were really serious about that, I wouldn't gamble at all.
Well, that is true.
When we were at Viejas, okay?
Yeah.
I'm playing craps, and this guy comes up to the table, and he looks, and he's about to buy in, and he looks at the dealers and the pit boss, and he says, "Oh, no Boxman? Forget it." And he walked away, right? And
Really?
I turned to the dealer. I said, "Well, now that's just smart gambling." He laughed at that and said something like, "Oh, that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Smart gambling, right?" So,
well, when we were at San Manuel, you remember the guy walked up and he stood next to me, obviously not a gambler, and said, "I have $100. What should I do?"
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And I said, well, at first I wanted to tell him, run. What you should do is just leave with your $100, right? That's the smart thing to do. But the gambler inside of me made him put $30 on 6 and
30?
30 on 6 and 30 on 8. So he spent 60 of his 100, right?
Okay, yeah.
So he had $40 left. It was during that big roll, right? And he missed the first half of it.
Yeah.
So he got in the second half. He, after that roll, immediately left, and he had over $300
okay, good. Okay,
in his
good.
hand.
Yeah.
So, I felt good because it was like, wow, because usually, you tell him to do that and it's immediate out.
Right. Well, that's
and
the
look
thing.
at you and 60% of my money just lost.
I know. Somebody comes up to a craps table with only $100. I'm
Right.
probably not telling him to put 30 each of the 6.
Right.
But I'm glad it worked out.
But he did it.
Yeah.
He made it sound like he wanted to bet all 100, just
Oh, right. Like what's the best place to put $100?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, should I tell him the field? But then I'll feel bad. Then I thought, if he had 120, I would have had him put 60 each.
I think you're right.
Right.
He probably did want to just bet all the 100.
It sounded like what he wanted.
Yeah. All right. Next call.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick in Kalamazoo. Thanks for taking my call. Just want to give quick trip reports. Went to visit my family in West Virginia, and usually on the way back to Michigan, we stop at Wheeling Island Casino. It's a nice little casino there, about an hour from where my parents live. Always a really friendly staff, $5 tables. We were there on a Monday, so it was really slow. Only 2 of us at the craps table. Only brought $100 because we weren't expecting to stay very long. They have a fire bet there, you usually don't see, so it's kind of fun to bet that. I hit a 4-point fire bet, which was exciting. I've never hit it before. I've been there when it's been hit and been paid. Was talking with the dealers, was making bets, putting them for $1 on the 6 and the 8, putting them on the line for $1 with $1 odds. It was kind of fun because they were cheering for us instead of there being 2 people cheering. Now it was a 6-person table cheering and fist bumps. Great crew, a lot of fun. The only bad part was I wasn't paying attention and missed a fire bet, and the guy got a 5-point fire bet, which was a pretty significant payout compared to the 4. And I joked with him, said, no big deal. Those things come back. I'll hit it another time. But the dealers were great. They were making sure I had my odds right, cheering for us, making sure everything was set up. And sometimes when I was playing by myself while I was there, it was nice to have other people cheering and being on your side, just love the chit chat. So that was fantastic. Great place. I recommend going there if you have the chance. The only question I have is I hear about Dr. Mike's crazy center action and you guys playing $25 and $50 tables. I'd be curious to find out what sort of bets that Dr. Mike places, and if I was allowed to know what sort of amounts it is. Being a $5 type of player, seeing people at $25 and $50 tables throwing around chips is exciting, but makes me really nervous. My stomach churn. I don't think I could do it myself, but always fun to live vicariously through someone else. Thanks a lot for all the hard work you guys do, and always can't wait for the next one to come. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right, Mike, so tell us what your come-out roll bets are.
Well, it depends on where I'm playing.
Sure.
But at Harrah's Rincon, Southern California, I make a 3-way 7 bet for $30.
So that's a hot bet as opposed to the big red.
So
yes.
I'm betting on all 3 sevens,
Yep.
$10 a piece, $30. I make a 2-way world bet, 25 for me, 5 for the dealers. and I make a $20 ace deuce 11, and I make a $10 high low. So it's a total of $90. Now I know there's better ways to make that bet. So before people start calling in and everything, it's just what I like to do.
This is what Mike likes to do. Okay, right.
And that's what I make.
Okay. And then, so what happens if one or several of the
if
bets
7
win?
hits, the $30 is going to pay $130. And they're going to have to take out, the world will be a push. The ace deuce 11 and the high low will lose. That's $30. So I get $100. I press it 60 and go to 90.
So now you got a 93-way 7.
3-way 7, and I collect $40. And if 7 comes up again, then I get paid $390 minus the 30 is $360. I press it 60 more dollars and go to $150, and I collect $300. If that hits, it pays $650 minus the 30, $620. I give them another $150 and go to $300 on the 7. Okay.
All right.
And then, if 7 hits, I go to 600. If it hits,
just keeps going. All right. Now, so without going into too much more detail, because you're throwing out a lot of numbers here, what happens if one of the horn numbers hits?
Okay. So if 3 or 11 hit, it pays $140 minus the high-low, which is 10, and minus the 7s, which is 30, so 40. So it's $100. So I press the red, the 3-way 7 up 60 and collect 40. My world bet also wins. I get $55. So I take the quarter I had on there plus the 55 and make an $80 straight horn bet. And the dealers had $5. They get 11. And so I parlay all their money, $16 straight to the horn. So at that point, I'd have a $90 bet on the 7s, an $80 horn bet, $20 ace deuce 11, and 10 high low, and the dealers would have a $16 horn.
All right, very good.
It goes from there. And if high low hits, it's kind of the same.
All right, let's just stop there. All right, I don't think we need to go any further. So that's a lot of information. If you would like to see this in action, it's like a dance between Mike and the dealers. It is pretty fascinating. Although for someone like me, I just come on.
Well, what's nice at Harris Rincon is they all know me.
They all know, right?
They immediately just set it all up and give me the change.
Yeah. So if you want to see, it is something to see for people who haven't seen it before. You should come and check out Dr. Mike betting on the come out roll while I make my $10 pass line bet.
It's just for fun.
That's all it ever is, Mike.
That's all it is.
All right, let's hear from Marty again.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike, Marty again from Northern Nevada. Hey, one other thing that came up in your last show, and I kind of have an exact opposite thing that happened to me. So you had a caller call in a couple of weeks ago who was mentioning that 20 minutes after a hand had been set, they had a pit boss go up and demand the money back on the table. About 15 years ago, I was playing Pygo at the California, back before they remodeled, and was sitting there playing Pygo one night and probably there for 2 or 3 hours. The phone rings. The pit boss is kind of looking over at my table and kind of pointing at me. And I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And he walks over and says, hey, about 4 hands ago, the dealer set her hand wrong and we owe you $25. So it does happen the other way. I don't know that it's really a gaming control thing, but it certainly happens the other way too. And I think the guys there at the Cal are running an honest club. Anyway, love the show, guys. Talk to you later.
Okay, good story. Good for the Cal.
That is a good story. Yeah. And you know what? It's a good thing to do from the casino's perspective because, Marty's always going to think, hey, the Cal's running a good deal here. And, I'm going to give him business. In the long run,
it's $25. Yeah.
The $25 means nothing to them, but the PR they get from that is worth thousands of dollars, right?
Yep. That's good. Yep.
So I wished every casino thought like that. Maybe Caesars ought to take a clue, whoever the hell's running Caesars. And think, well, maybe we just won't count these sports bets. And
maybe after the merger, this with the El Dorado, maybe they'll change.
Maybe,
Who knows? Keep your fingers crossed.
Because what they lose on lowering his ADT, it doesn't make up for what they'd make if he comes regularly, right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
All right, next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Alex from Atlanta, Georgia. Just calling to give a brief trip report. This past weekend, I was in good old Biloxi playing craps, and the tables were cold. I couldn't hit anything. So I was playing from the don't. I usually don't play the don't, but I did this time. But it seems like every time I would go into the don't, a shooter out of 20 would be the one that gets on a semi-hot streak. But needless to say, I didn't do very well. So I have a question. I know you guys sometimes say you play the don't. When you play the don't, do you pass or do you shoot? I sometimes feel like it's bad etiquette, or I don't know, to shoot from the don't and trying to get a 7 yourself. So I just want to get your take on that. And also just want to let you know, Harrah's over in Biloxi, they have 100 times odds. Wasn't helping me very much, but I know Dr. Mike likes to push the odds, so Harrah's in Biloxi does have 100 times odds. Hope y'all are doing well. I love the show. Have a good one, and Merry Christmas. Bye.
Merry Christmas. Good. So hopefully we'll get to Harrah's Biloxi here.
That's a reason to go now. 100 times odds.
Yeah. As far as shooting from the don't, now, Dr. Mike, I can't remember last time you played the don't. It's really been a while.
It's been a long time.
If either of us is going to play the don't, it's going to be me. And no, I don't shoot from the don't. Either I will pass the dice or I'll switch to the pass line when it's my roll. Only because just emotionally, I think the feeling of having a hot roll when you're on the don't is worse than just immediately 7ing out when you're on the pass line.
Way worse.
I always think of that guy at Mirage. Remember that don't player who kept jumping back? He was the hottest shooter.
He was rolling so well. And when we left our table to go to the one he was on,
we followed him because he's a hot shooter.
The pit boss is like, smart guys, they're following the hot shooter. And then he's laughing because the guy's betting the don't like crazy and making number after number after number.
So yeah, you see people shooting from the don't, but that's not for me. I don't like it.
No. And what it is, it's exactly what you said. Of course, it could be you could roll 3
Doesn't
numbers
matter.
and 7 out and not repeat anything. But the first time you repeat something, right, you'll be like, oh, God.
Everybody's cheering. Hey, all right, you rolled another 6.
Third 9 in a row. Hey, great. And you're losing money. It's just no fun to do that, right?
No, unless I'm by myself or unless maybe there's a table where everybody's betting the don't or something like that.
Yeah, there could be some circumstances. But most of the time, why not just pass?
Just pass. Yeah, really. Unless you think you're a terrible shooter.
Well, and you have statistics to prove that. I don't know.
All right, next up is Frank.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Frank again from St. Louis with a little epilogue to our Las Vegas trip. This actually occurred after you guys went to record your last podcast. I was at the Golden Gate shooting craps, $5 table. There was about 6 to 8 people there, and cashed in for $1,000 and basically just play $5 pass or come full odds and hope for the best. Suddenly the table got really cold. I was the only one left. Probably should have got up and left, but wanted to lose all my money instead of cashing out. I was shooting, got on a pretty warm roll. When you're by yourself, you can get 3 rolls in a minute, as we know. So 5-6 minutes, I got my bankroll back up to where I started, and other players wanted to come and cash in, and the dealers told them to wait until I was done rolling. I didn't request it. It was nice of them. Didn't know if that ever happened to you guys, that they told them they couldn't buy in the middle of a single shooter roll, but I really enjoyed it. I tipped them well and actually made some money. As far as the Golden Gate and other places downtown, I would encourage your listeners to stay down there. They really have upgraded it. We stayed at the Four Queens. Every place is close. I know Dr. Mike alluded how far he had to go at Caesar's Palace. The Fremont Street experience is really something. People are friendly, enough security down there. Places are close. Even El Cortez, which is off the beaten path. We walked in there and it was surprisingly nice. They've done a good job in there. Very clean, great sports book. Of course, if you've never been to Las Vegas, see the Strip. It's a bucket list thing, but we're having a good time, and you can go down there and one guy can play $50 a hand and the other guy can play $5 a hand at 3-2 blackjack. It's really a good deal. So thanks, and we all enjoy your show. Bye.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on the last episode.
Right.
Gambling is much better downtown than on the Strip. And if you want something that's closer to the Strip experience downtown, stay at Golden Nugget. Right. That's more like a Strip property, or even Circa once it's built. That might be, comparable to some of the Strip properties.
I have always thought about this. Why not do both?
Well, of course. If it's your first time, absolutely do both.
Or our 1,000th time like us. I mean, stay on the Strip, play at the Strip casinos. We like Caesars because we get a lot of rewards.
Yeah.
But then we get an Uber. It doesn't cost that much, and we go downtown and we spend one night downtown.
Yeah, and we just go from casino to casino.
I mean, why not always do both? Why do people get locked into like or I'm at downtown, or I'm at the Strip. I mean,
well,
today with,
Okay, but this is your choice, right? I mean, there are
Right.
plenty of people who, downtown, no. I don't like walking amongst all the weirdos down there and other things.
Mark,
and then
who doesn't like walking amongst weirdos?
and then
I love that. That's the best thing about life.
There are other people who want a good gamble, and that's
Right.
better downtown.
Well,
so,
and they want
I mean,
clubs.
Don't
There's a
tell
lot
don't tell other people what they should do, Dr. Mike. But yeah, when it comes to you and me, we should always switch back
But
and
I'm
forth.
just
I
saying,
agree.
why not? Give it a shot.
Sure, definitely give it a shot. Definitely give it a shot.
Weird people. We're the weird people, Mark.
Now, as far as dealers actually asking players not to buy in the middle of a hand, you usually don't see that. We've come across that a few times, but the house doesn't like it because they want to get people's money right away. But
I'll tell you
that's great customer service, I think.
I think when we own a casino,
Yes.
we are going to tell the dealers to ask people to wait to buy in on a come out.
Yeah. No mid-hand buy-in.
No mid-hand buy-ins. And we're not going to lose any money because people are still going to sit there and wait.
Yeah, right. They're still going to play it. Yeah.
Sure. But you know what it is? I think it's to the casino's advantage because how many times have you seen there's a hand going on, someone buys in, they're trying to cut out the chips, and then other people are trying to make bets.
Mm-hmm.
They're throwing stuff in, I'll take a hard 8 and I'll do this. And I'll do that. And then the guy's trying to count chips. It's just a little confusing.
And sometimes there are mix-ups as a result.
right.
Wait a minute, that's my bet. That's not what you're giving that guy. Yeah.
Right. I think it would be better to just make everyone wait. They have no mid-shoe buy-ins.
Well, there's a reason for that.
I know, but people wouldn't. You can't buy in the middle. I understand, and then they just patiently wait, and everyone would be happy, except the guy like me who's trying to buy in, and the roll goes for an hour and a half.
Sure, of course. All you want to do is place the 6 and 8. That's all you want to do, and you're stuck.
I just want a $6 6 and a $6 8. That's all I want. Please let me buy in, sir. You're going to have to wait.
Step away from the table, sir.
Security.
All right, last call.
Hey guys, this is Anthony from Rancho Cucamonga. I just wanted to share a little story I had regarding the South Point Sportsbook. A buddy and I were there early in the baseball season, and we're big baseball fans, so we wanted to put a couple futures bets down. So we put a bet on the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals to win their respective divisions. Small bets, $20. Just because they had 4 starts and we thought we were getting good value on them. Anyways, we were back in Vegas a couple weeks ago to cash those tickets at the South Point. Go up to the counter and give them to the attendant, and he looks at them and gives us a funny look and says, "Oh, I can't take these." We ask why. He says it's because they switched over to a new system. So after talking to him for a couple minutes, he goes to the back to get a supervisor. He gives us the same answer, yada, 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 run around. So about 30 minutes later, we finally agreed to pay us our money, and we walk away unhappy. It wasn't that big of a bet, less than $100 for each ticket, but I just don't understand the logic. Plenty of people were betting preseason NFL bets, season-long bets, and that season hasn't ended yet, so I'm just wondering why they're having an issue cashing these tickets if they knew there was going to be futures bets before the system changed over. So I don't know. Just wanted to see if you guys have ever heard of anything like that or thoughts on that. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird. Talk to you later. Bye.
What is going on?
That is so strange.
What they should have said when they made the futures bets back at the beginning of the season. Now, keep in mind, you won't be able to cash these in.
Yeah, these can't win because then the machine's going to change. We won't be able to calculate it.
Oh my God.
It makes absolutely no sense at all.
Wow. There's nothing we can do. News says, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we know they won their division. That's great. We know you were wise enough to make that bet. That's great. We can't cash it out.
I can just see the corporate meeting. We've got a great business plan. Here's what we're going to do for all our futures bets before the end of the season.
You hype futures bets. You give great odds and everything and then don't honor them.
Wow.
That's what we need to do in our casino.
That's right. God. Oh, sorry, we're out of business.
Okay, the title of this episode is going to be Idiot Casinos. Jeez.
Oh, my gosh.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is.
I understand the problem, though. they probably just took a quick glance at the tickets and thought they bet on the Padres.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then they're thinking, who would bet a futures bet on the Padres to win anything? First of all, that's just stupid.
Right.
So we can tell this guy anything and he'll believe it. He's that dumb, right? That was it. And then later, it's wait a minute, St. Louis? Yeah, we got to honor these.
Sorry, I misread the tickets. Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, recurring donation from Josh. Thanks very much. And also a donation from David. Just a little hard 8 bet to say thanks. Hoping for lots of hard ways during my mid-January trip to Vegas. Keep up the good work. Thanks, David.
Yeah, I hope he hits them all.
Yeah. Speaking of hard ways, so a few episodes back, listener Michael sent us a donation, and he said that I had to bet it on a hard 8 and parlay it once. And we kept forgetting. Last time we were at Harrah's, I made the bet on the hard 8. Unfortunately, hard 8 didn't even come up the first time. So.
Well, you waited till you rolled.
Yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, should have waited for somebody else.
And you were on the don't.
That was probably the problem.
That was the problem.
Next time, Michael.
Of course, I made a no 8 bet.
Mike cleaned up. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program that searches through all the raw American TV data. Just go to youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review on us. We love getting your feedback. Got something for us, Dr. Mike?
Yeah, I want to know how many times have the TV listings come up with a gambling episode that airs on the Hallmark Channel?
Very rarely. You know what it usually is? It's like a mother and daughter who are picketing, trying to prevent a casino from opening.
Oh, okay.
So I don't put that in the listings.
That's what we need. I was thinking about that recently. Why isn't there some Christmas movie that revolves around a casino and gambling and stuff?
The closest thing, I think there's a Christmas movie with Elizabeth Berkley, who's starting Showgirls, right? I think there's one where she's left a lottery ticket in her glove compartment, and she's got so that,
right. Remember that.
There's your gambling Hallmark holiday movie.
I don't consider lottery gambling.
Okay,
I really don't. First of all, it's too easy to win.
Yeah, right.
Way too easy to win. But no, seriously, the Hallmark Channel. To all the Hallmark Channel execs who listen to this podcast, please let's come up with a Christmas show where I don't know, Santa loses everything.
Heavy
in the casino.
gambling theme. Okay,
the reindeers have to rescue him and elves.
That's right. Christmas is almost canceled, right? Because he split tens.
That's it. He split tens. He's in the back room being fist whipped or something by somebody.
You counting, Santa? You counting?
That's what we need. Yeah, and as sure as rain is coming, there's going to be somebody call in and tell us there's
there is one. Yeah,
there already is one. We haven't seen it.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Oh, sweet mother, I love you, Dr. Mike.